I can't wait till later in the show to talk about this Kendrick Lamar thing. Kendrick Lamar, I think if I'm not mistaken, it said he is the first rapper to solo headline the Super Bowl.
I believe it.
I'm anxious, Simone. I'm anxious. But we'll get into it.
Good tease.
It's in the 1 o'clock hour. What we're going to get into right now is a name that has been brought up before. And I have some bad news. I spent the break trying to cook up a trade, and I'll continue to work on it. But this right now, there is an issue with it. But this is for one Robert Wiliams is a potential trade candidate. According to Brian Windhorst, here is the quote. A guy to watch who is very tradable is the Time Lord, one of the great nicknames in the whole NBA. Robert Wiliams coming back off injury, obviously. He's a guy who's had repeated injury problems, but he makes $13 million. They may be willing to part with him, and he could go to a contender and be a significant piece if he is healthy. Well, it's funny. They may – okay, well, he is very tradable, and then they may be willing to part with him. So if he's very tradable, that sounds like they should definitely be willing to part with him. But nonetheless, I try to cook up as the Kings are always trying to get better as far as the defense in the paint. But the problem is, as Windhorst said, you have Time Lord. Technically, it's $12.4 million, at least according to Fanspo. The issue is you'd honestly have to make it some type of two-player trade because that's too much money based on who you have. I mean, we're talking about right now, all the guys that are making significant money, you're not going to touch, right? Obviously, Kevin Huerter making 16.8, you're not going to have that conversation. If Matisse Thybulle, he makes $11 million, which you wish that he made a little bit less than that. So that's $23 million if you wanted to do it. And then you have the side that nobody thinks about, which is the Blazers side. So in theory, you could do Kevin Huerter and Trey Lyles for Robert Wiliams and Matisse Thybulle, but I don't know if either team does that deal. I mean, I think the Kings might be more willing to do it, but you're giving up a Kevin Huerter who, look, everybody is looking for a shooter. He is coming off of injury, but, you know, it's hard to say no to offense as much as you want defense, and you're giving it up for a guy in Matisse Thybulle who is just not going to help you offensively at all, even though he is a wing and you would like that size. He goes as a shooting guard wing, so he's not even a bigger wing at 6'5". And then you have Robert Wiliams, who honestly, you're taking a chance on his health, man. I mean, he's struggled with injury since 2022 when he, you know, wasn't as available as people would have liked for the Celtics and the Warriors the first go round with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. So I think that's a bit of a gamble on both ends. And if you're the Blazers, I'm not really sure why you would want Kevin Huerter and Trey Lyles when you're probably in the Cooper Flag sweepstakes. So I hate to tell you, Kings fans, if you were interested in shoring up that backup center position, obviously you got Alex Len. But yeah, as far as Robert Wiliams is concerned, that $12.4 million, that kind of messes everything up. And really, if you look at the Kings right now, the conversation has been about Kevin Huerter. And I think contenders are interested in Kevin Huerter. I don't think that a Blazers team would be interested in Kevin Huerter. You go down the rest of this roster. You get Trey Lyles at $8 million. You got Keegan at 8.8, but obviously that we shouldn't even waste our breath talking about that. Then you get Trey Lyles at $8 million. Jalen McDaniels, who you cannot move yet. He's recently traded. You're not moving Devin Carter. I don't know Colby Jones' value. You're not moving Keon Ellis in a deal like this. And then you get into all the other guys that they recently added. So the Kings, there may be a reason that Monty McNair said what he said on these airways as far as the Kings not doing much, because they don't really have a lot of chips to move besides Kevin Huerter. So unless we get into the conversation of a 3-team deal, it's going to be hard for the Kings to move anybody, because these teams that are stinkers, right? And that goes for the Nets too. Why would the Nets want Kevin Huerter? I don't know why the Nets would want Kevin Herter. You start talking about picks and things like that. You're trying to put a decent product out there, but you're also trying to get Cooper Flagg at this point and let your young guys cook a little bit. So I could see the Nets over the Blazers. The Blazers, the issue there, and I know that Kevin Herter has kind of been put into this wing conversation just simply because the Kings have a lot of guards. But the Blazers, they already have, and they don't all do the same thing, but you got Anthony Simons, you got Scoot Henderson, you got Shaedon Sharpe, you have you have too many guys it's the same issue, a different version of the same issue that the Kings have. So I don't think that the Kings have the pieces to even get into the Time Lord conversation. I think it would be interesting to do so. But yeah, hopefully he doesn't go to a Western Conference team. He probably will, but yeah, I'll try to continue cook while I'm waiting during the break, but I don't see it happening. Chris Murray, I guess you could maybe throw him in. That gets you to 15 mil, but again, Kevin Herter is kind of an acquired taste. Not that everybody is always looking for a shooter unless you're kind of trying to tank. And I think that's what the Blazers might be trying to do unofficially. They got Donovan Clingan. And we talked, they have a couple guys on their roster. DeAndre Ayton, 34 mil a year. A lot of people think that might be a little bit too steep. I think there's some people that might kick the tires. Jeremy Grant, we haven't talked about that name in a long time. Jeremy Grant, the whole decision, or seems like he wants to stay. Not that that matters, but he wants to stay. They go get Denny Avdia, which, hey, at least he's only 23 years old. So there probably will be a fire sale on the Blazers. I'm just not sure what you still have to make money work, right? Fire sale, that includes, hey, we don't have to use this pick or that pick. You still have to make the money work. And that's why I think that the fire sale that the Blazers have, just based on how the money matches up, doesn't make a ton of sense for the Kings to get into that conversation. Because even Matisse Thybulle, right? He's 27. He's right in his prime. Could use a defensive wing, right? Everybody can. But again, at 11 mil, are you trading Trey Lyles for Matisse Thybulle? In this offense, can you really afford to have a guy? And that's still, you might have to throw in another piece. That still is probably not enough, right? Or offensively, yes, you want to make sure that you can have somebody that can at least shoot an open three, and Matisse Thybulle can barely do that. On top of that, he's making more than Trey Lyles. And again, I'll take it to the Blazers. Why would the Blazers want 28-year-old Trey Lyles? I get, he's making $3 million less than Matisse. But besides that, I don't even know why they would want somebody who doesn't fit that age range. That's why they would be moving off of Matisse. They're just going super young and moving from there, right? They already have their two vets. Anthony Simons is 25, but they already have their two vets, and DeAndre Ayton, who's 26, and Jeremy Grant, who's 30. So I don't think that they feel like they need anyone else. And they're just a young team, and they're just kind of doing whatever it is that they're trying to do at this point. So really interesting from Brian Windhorst, but I don't see a path right now. Now, maybe you get close to the trade deadline and something happens where you're just getting eaten up inside. Then maybe you think about it. Maybe the offense is humming and Kevin Herter, hasn't figured it out, or Trey Lyles hasn't figured it out, or you try to make the money work somehow. But I feel like it's just a little bit too different, right? A little bit too different of a money situation, or a little off as far as the Kings and Blazers. But there will be a team. I do think he will get moved. I think a lot of these guys are going to get moved on the Blazers. I just am not sure when. I think that Jeremy Grant, there's just no need to pay a guy 30 mil to lose, right? And there's definitely no need to pay two guys nearly 60 or over $60 million to lose in DeAndre Ayton and Jeremy Grant. That's just bad business. So one of them is, especially when you drafted one of the guys' replacement with DeAndre Ayton. So, and Donovan Clingan. So I think that one of these guys is going to get moved. It's just a matter of who and when. It makes more sense for DeAndre Ayton, but who wants to pay DeAndre Ayton that type of money? You probably find somebody. You probably find somebody at some point. So that is the story, and we have gone around the NBA. Coming up next, we get into Susan Slusser's article on the A's and the Giants. A lot of meat on that bone. Did the Giants know what they were doing? And A's fans, want to hear from you. There is a master plan with the Giants, and I want to hear from you, 916-339-1140. Do you think it will actually work? Stiles Watkins, Sactown Sports.
On the move? Got somewhere to be?
Take Sacramento